Hey guys, so yeah, I'm bad at keeping things short, but we got a new update today, 4.0 for BTD6, and we've got some cool changes here. So I'm just gonna go over the patch notes now, and talk about them a little bit, but trying to keep it brief, even though I'm bad at that. So let's go. So anyway, we got a new map, and it is downstream. I'm still working on it. I completed half cache, and I'll put a video up for that for anyone interested. I actually did something interesting here using some of the recently buffed towers, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's just load this up in Sandbox. I only have, oh no, I have medium unlocked now, so I could have gone medium, but no, I did not. So anyway, and it's a pretty easy map. It's in the intermediate category. It's probably one of the more easier intermediate maps, but it's still pretty nice looking, pretty fun. And the best part about it is that, look at this, you can fit your snipers underneath this tree, and like they're almost perfectly covered. And that's just that's just the best. Who doesn't want this? This is all I want in maps, is just to be able to hide my snipers. Oh my god, I'm doing a bad job at keeping this brief. Anyway, so Sandbox changes. We can, this is cool, we can actually set cache, boom, set it to 99, and set lives, boom. Set this to like some random number. So see, these are set. So we could always do this. But now if I tap back on my cache, it keeps the 99 value. So these use totally separate values that don't mess with each other, which is really helpful for Sandbox. Like that's a huge change in my opinion. Another good change, you can actually use the set round to go above round 80 now. Boom, 81. And I can send around 81. You can set this to as high as you want, as long as you've passed that round. So I send around 90, and I don't know if it actually, so it doesn't have to wait for the other one to finish, so I can just overlay them. That's kind of funny. But yeah, you can set this to as high as you've been. So if I say like 909, it'll cap at 667 because that's the highest round I have reached. And so I can send play, and that will hopefully, did I hit it? There we go, boom. That sends around 667. And as you can see, round 667 is not easy. Yeah, ooh, those are fast EDTs. They're fast everything. Anyway, so, clear all this. Let's just set this back to like low value. So we got another change we got a change to lives. So basically the cap of lives was 1,000. You couldn't get any higher than 1,000. This has been changed, and it's, I think I'll do a video just on this, doing some sort of weird thing, because it takes too long to explain. But basically, yeah, the cap was raised to 1,000, but once you reach the cap was raised to 5,000, but once you reach 1,000, you receive a 95% reduction on any lives generators. And what it basically means is it's really easy to get 1,000 lives, and then it's like 20 times harder to get from 1,000 to 2,000, and so on, up to 5,000. And so this is kind of a test just to see how this works, and if this goes well, we might see some more changes to max lives in the future. I don't know. No, I like to keep my hopes up. Anyway, so 2 more final things which we could look at in the main menus. Well, firstly, the end of round delay that was in Apocalypse, the 5-second delay between rounds, that is kind of gone. It was reduced to 1 second. And 1 second still kind of sounds like a lot when you're comparing it to like an infinite rush of just wave after wave. But keep in mind that that's 1 second. But if you're in fast forward, that's 1/3 of a second, because fast forward is 3 times. It also multiplies this. So 1/3 of a second delay between rounds in Apocalypse. It's pretty good. I think this is pretty good. And that pretty much just stops the last balloon in the round from being overlapped with the first balloon in the next round, which is kind of weird. Not a big deal, but hey, it's fixed. Anyway, so if you tap the powers button in the main menu, you bring up your powers menu. This has always been here. But if you look in the very right, there's an Instamonkeys little tab. You can tap that, and it brings you to your Instamonkeys. This is a collection of all the Instamonkeys that you have. And you can tap on the monkey, and it will bring you to a list of the actual individual ones of that type of monkey. Pretty cool. It's nice to be able to see them outside of a game, because we could never see this before. That's the main additions to the game. There was also a feature which you can't actually see yet, but it was changed to the daily challenge system, which allowed, so currently if we look at these, like this challenge allows me to use Gwendolyn as my hero. This challenge allows me to use Striker Jones as my hero. There is now the possibility of picking a hero to take into a DC. This won't be for every DC, it's just like, it's a possibility. So a daily challenge can be set to allow players to pick their hero. And this will just take the hero that you have selected. So this has been updated onto the daily challenge suggestions form if you want to make your own suggestions, and I will link that form in the description for anyone interested in that. But there's quite a lot of suggestions, so it'll be a while to get through them, and they might not necessarily make it. So back to the patch notes, we have some just general fixes, and one that was kind of weird, like the druids, for example, they had like little podiums or clouds underneath them or special effects. If you redeployed these with a heli, it would leave them behind. This has always happened, but it was never a big deal. That was randomly fixed. Whatever, who cares? A few more notes that aren't too big. So one that is a bit big is when you get around 81 and above in any game, ceramics are replaced with super ceramics. And what this means is they basically have like 6 times health, roughly, maybe a little bit more than that, 6 to 7 times health, but they don't spawn as many children. Usually like a ceramic has 2 rainbows inside it. Each of those rainbows has 2 zebras. Each of those zebras has like a black and a white. Each of those blacks and whites has like a couple pinks or something. It splits down, and there's lots and lots of children. The super ceramics, they have a lot of health themselves, but then there is only like 7 balloons inside them, so much less. There was a bug with these where they were basically giving weird amounts of cash. Sometimes they give too much, sometimes they give too little. Overall, they will give less now, but it will be the same amount every time. And so that's good for consistency's sake, but it does mean that rounds 81 plus will be a bit harder. A few more minor things. So there was one where basically if you had a tier 5 and a tier 4 tower on the same path for the same type, like for example, if I had a Moab Eliminator, the 050 bomb shooter, and then I also had a 040 bomb shooter, if you looked at the description for the tier 4, it wouldn't show. That's been fixed. So that's a weird one, but yeah. And now, okay, so these onto the actual tower-specific bug fixes, and which I'll just go in here. So Juggernaut, this isn't really a bug fix, it's just a change, but the description now says that it can pop lead. It could always pop lead, but the description never said this, so a lot of people were confused on daily challenges and such, but yes, this can pop lead. Fantastic. The Ice Monkey, so the Cryo Cannon. When you upgrade to the Cryo Cannon, it goes from like an AoE, just attacks everything in radius, to an actual targeted ball that it shoots. There was a bug here where this would default to the close targeting, and you'd have to change it to first because, like, for real, like no one wants to use that on close. But now, when you upgrade to the Cryo Cannon, it will automatically swap to first. Fantastic. There's a bit of a bug here where the first is like a button, which you can tap, and it doesn't do anything, but it looks weird. That's just a minor issue that will be resolved at some point, but yeah, don't worry about that. So the sub, there was an issue with these airburst darts, where the darts that split out, so they're meant to have a few pierce, and there was a balance change in the previous update where these, even though they're a sub-projectile, which normally don't receive buffs that are applied to the parent projectile, since the parent projectile doesn't pierce, it was decided that they'd change this, and it was made that the airburst darts would gain buffs. So basically, ever since 3.0, if you like use an Alchemist on your sub, all your airburst darts would gain the damage bonus and the pierce bonus. However, also in 3.0, there was a bug where if you had the Monkey Knowledge, where you get +1 pierce to your airbursts, so to all of your boats or something like that. I forgot which one it is. That would stop this from working, and your airburst darts would be capped to 1 pierce. That's now been fixed, so you can use your super buffed airburst darts freely without having to turn off your Monkey Knowledge. Awesome. I am probably going to do a video showing off how awesome that is, because Airburst darts is pretty good in half cash, always has been, and now it's going to be even better in half cash. And I haven't done many half cash videos yet, so I look forward to seeing Airburst darts in half cash at some point. Some minor heli pilot changes, not really too problematic. The Wizard Monkey's Guided Magic, boom. Guided Magic will now allow the Wall of Fire to ignore blockers. So if you put your wizard behind the brick, on another brick or something, you can throw Wall of Fires onto the road on the other side of the bricks. And so, cool. So the Alchemists as well, wherever it is. Whoops. Alchemist will no longer target Benjamin with Acidic Mixture Dip, since it doesn't do anything for Benjamin. However, the Alchemist will target Benjamin with Berserker Brew to speed up Balloon Trojan, but only if Benjamin has the Balloon Trojan attack unlocked. So once you reach level 7 on Benjamin, the Alchemist will start buffing it with Berserker Brew, but still not Acidic Mixture Dip. Just a bit of a quality of life thing there. Also worth noting, no one noticed this until, only just thought, hey, I'm going to check this because I hadn't thought about it before, and apparently no one had noticed this, but Benjamin's Trojan, actually, when it hits any target, including a blimp, when it removes the children from that target, it actually makes it leak less lives. So there's going to be some cool stuff there. I am going to do a video on that for sure, because I see some interesting possibilities there which I want to exploit. Looking at the Alchemist still, the Unstable Concoction attack, this will now benefit from cross-pathing. It never did before. So basically this attack, which it throws on mainly for blimps, it throws on a blimp. When that blimp is destroyed, it explodes for a percentage of its health. You can actually throw those faster using the faster throwing, or you can make the radius of the potion when it splashes onto the targets larger with larger potions. Personally, I would always go faster throwing, just because throwing the potion more frequently is better than hitting more targets per throw, in my opinion. Yeah, that's all. There was some minor change with the Spirit of the Forest, not a big deal. You can check that in the patch notes. There was a fix with the Monkeyopolis. Wait, that's the village. So the Monkeyopolis, boom. Sometimes you wouldn't be able to buy this tier 5, and it didn't show you. There was a lot of questions about this. The reason is just that you cannot buy this upgrade unless there is a farming radius. It now tells you this. If you have this and you don't have a farming radius, the upgrade, instead of saying upgrade locked, will just say requires farm. It's simple. The Quincy is perfect, but having a fashion crisis, yes. Wonder what that means. Benjamin, minor changes. So Gwendolyn's Cocktail of Fire will no longer land off track, hopefully. There was a bug where if there were balloons in Gwendolyn's radius being blown backwards and Gwendolyn tried to target them with her cocktail, it would make the cocktail fling into weirdness, in the middle of nowhere, or not on the track or something like that. That should never happen anymore. It should always land on track. This is good. Oben's Wall of Trees, similar issue. If Oben was placed too close to the entrance or exit of the track, he could sometimes throw his trees outside the track, and they would not hit anything. They'd just kind of sit there and be useless until you placed a new wall of trees. That's been fixed. They should always land in the track where they can hit something now. But in all honesty, you shouldn't really be placing Oben that close to the entrance or exit anyway. A minor fix for Churchill. And that's all the bug fixes. Now we're on to the balance changes, which is more interesting, really. So the Dart Monkey here, this Sharpshooter attack. So crossbows have always been pretty good. Triple shot I use more often because it's just more reliable for kind of hitting groups. Crossbow is arguably very similar to it in power. It just, since it doesn't have the spread, it relies more on pierce and damage per hit. It's for a different use. The Sharpshooter was always kind of not quite worth the cost. It now does +1 damage, so another +1 damage. So it is better. It is actually an upgrade to the crossbow always. But the real benefit here is that this +1 damage also carries on to the Crossbow Master. So the Crossbow Master is better. I don't really use Crossbow Master so much anymore. It used to be one of my favorites, but like I stopped using it when I started doing chimps more often, because the Crossbow Master is not as good in chimps, in my opinion, just because it can't really slow anything, and you really want to be like slowing or stalling, or at least doing amazing damage so you don't have to do a stall. And the Crossbow Master just didn't live up to all of that, even though it is quite good. But yeah, so the Crossbow Master should be better now, so I'm going to give that a look. The boomerang, so the Glaive Lord was changed. These rotating glaives that spin around it now do 5 more damage. And I'm actually going to show this one off because it's awesome. So let's go into just medium sandbox on cubism. So the problem with Glaive Lord was that it was powerful and it could shred ceramics easily. Like, they would do nothing. But the second you hit round, like, it only did ceramics though, it didn't hit mobs. But the second you hit round 81, it suddenly can't deal with anything. It can't deal with mobs, it can't deal with ceramics. It was useless because super ceramics were just too strong for it. But now, actually, which is interesting, if I send 100, let's see, fortified regular ceramics, it does well. I mean, actually, let's remove the spacing. That was dumb. So, boom. This will lag a bit, but boom. A little bit laggy. It deals with them fine. Now, if I set this to round 81, and then I send the same thing, there. It took a little bit longer, but it still got them. And this is actually... I mean, it looks like it did worse, but when you compare it to how it used to do, it wouldn't have destroyed them at all. They would have gone straight past it. They would have kept on going past it. It wouldn't have popped any, so it's really good. And what's even better is, for example, let's reduce this number to 10, but I'll send mobs. 10 mobs with 0 spacing. It got them all. So it can actually deal with mobs now. Nice. And so let's just kick this up. So it's actually a lot better than that. So we give it the stimulant now, and it doesn't need any other cross-pathing. I'll take off fortified, but send zombies. And come on, buddies. So this is round 81, so it's got super ceramics and slightly stronger zombies, not that much stronger. But it clearly did a lot of damage there. That's a lot of damage states. And when this comes back, destroys the zombies about here, I think. Yep. And then BFBs, all gone. Mobs, all gone. Ceramics, all gone. So it can even take out zombies when you buff it up. This might be a bit too good now, actually. But hey, I'm pretty happy with this guy. I'm probably gonna start trying to use him in chimps because it looks like this has been a really, really kind update to the Glaive Lord. I'll just continue from here. So the Mob Mauler was buffed. It used to do plus 10 damage to mobs for a total of 11. It now does plus 15 damage to mobs for a total of 16. Pretty decent increase. I've tried it briefly, and I did manage to win a game on I win a couple games using this. It seems good. I don't know exactly how good it is because I haven't done it on harder maps, but it seems pretty good on easy maps. Same the recursive cluster. These seem to be a lot better now. And the change made here is, so the recursive cluster, looking at this one. So the recursive cluster, it's every second shot now instead of every third shot. So that's pretty decent. So the cluster bombs, the bomb hits and then it clusters. The recursive cluster, bomb hits, clusters, and the clusters cluster again. It's now every second instead of every third, and when you get to tier 5, it's now every single shot will do the second cluster. So yeah, this is good. The bomb blitz is still probably, look at the price increase. It's more than like 10 times, way more than 10 times. It is clearly not worth. It's not worthwhile upgrade purely just for doubling the recursive clusters from like every second to every single, but you're also getting the ability, so now it's like you're getting a little bit more than just the ability, so yeah, it's a little bit better. We'll remove all this. So the Super Maelstrom was buffed. It now gains +1 damage to everything it does. So the ability gets +1 damage, every single blade gets +1 damage, and also the duration of the ability was increased quite a lot. And I will show this one off quickly because it was always a really overpriced upgrade. Like, I didn't like it. There was no reason to get it rather than just getting like another one, another tier 4. But now I can send like a BFB, and this does pretty decent damage to it. I actually sent 10 BFBs. I forgot to change that. If I send this, boom, gets them all. Little children leak out, but hey, for a tower that's only ever been for dealing with rushes, the fact that you can take out 2 BFBs down to the ceramic children on around 81 is pretty impressive. And actually, I believe I did a test before. I don't know if this, I mean, just for the lag's sake, I'll only do one, but this has high pierce, like really high pierce. It's one of the near infinite pierce ones, so it shouldn't matter if I send 1 or more, but yeah, talking for nothing. So I did 2 damage states to the Zomj on the first pass, and if I wait for it to come back, I won't activate it here. I will activate it when it gets close to me again, because I want to be in the middle of it, because that's just the best way to get DPS out of this thing. I wish it was going a bit faster, but I don't want to increase the round. And activate it again here. So I split open the Zomj with 2 activations. A Zomj has 4,000 health normally, so what we can deduce from this is that the single target DPS of this ability is now about 2,000 per activation. Oh, sorry. Total damage per activation is about 2,000. 2 activations can take out a Zomj, and I can probably take out a group Zomj, but I don't want to risk crashing myself because I only just crashed myself a bunch showing off of Glaive Lord. Anyway, yeah, Glue Gunner was... the Glue Storm was buffed. It's not really enough of a buff to interest me. The Mobe Glue was increased in price by 700. I love Mobe Glue, so that kind of hurts, but it's a great upgrade. I don't really mind too much. Preemptive Strike was buffed. That's weird, but it was buffed, hey. The Preemptive Strike that you get it for was not buffed, but the main ballistic missile attack on the Preemptive Strike now does plus 10 damage to ceramics and above instead of plus 4, which means it can one-shot ceramics instead of like 3-shotting them. Also, no, 2-shotting them because it's 1 plus 4. Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. It's, hey. The Spectre was nerfed, unfortunately. It can still solo deflation, so it's still great for that. But the 004 Spectre, the attack rate was reduced by about 16%. And, I mean, it's still a great tower. I'm still going to use it, but it's not quite as good anymore. This change did not apply to the Flying Fortress. The Flying Fortress still has the old attack rate. So the Flying Fortress is now roughly as powerful as 7 Spectres, I think someone mentioned. I haven't looked into this myself, but the Fortress fires 3 Spectre attacks, which all do 2 damage. So it was roughly 6 times as powerful as a Spectre before, and now it's probably around 7 times as powerful, which is kind of an indirect buff to that because it was never really worth the price, going from 18k to 108k. Might be a bit better now. The Heli pilot, the Apache path was buffed a bit. Apache Dart ship was reduced from 20k to 15k, 25% cheaper. That's probably going to make the Apache quite worth using now. The Apache Prime, probably not worth going up to still, but the pierce once increased on this, so it will deal with children quite a lot better. But then again, the main problem it has with children is the health of super ceramics, so extra pierce isn't going to help too much with that just yet. Still, Apache Dart ship, probably worth using. I'm going to give that a bit of a try myself. Quite a lot of wizard changes. First one is a nerf. The Wall of Fire was increased in price from 1,100 to 1,300, $200 more expensive. It was always really good, so hey. The only thing here is that Dragon's Breath is not quite worth it now. That this is more of a nerf to Dragon's Breath than it was to Wall of Fire, in my opinion. I would like Dragon's Breath to be quite a lot cheaper or stronger, something. Maybe that will come at some point. The Tier 5 was buffed. The main fire that the Tier 5 Phoenix shoots is now 4 times as powerful, and the little radial like meteor burst it fires is now 10 times as powerful. So it's pretty, I mean, it's a lot stronger. Let's just place this. I don't think I'm going to use this so much because it's still just too expensive for what it does. But if I have like I mean, let's do 20 5-spaced BFBs. I sent those out. If I activate this, it shreds them pretty good. Yeah, it's nothing incredible looking at that. Like, it dealt with them, yeah, but it didn't deal with them too efficiently because of its flight pattern. You could make better use of this if you aimed the flight pattern well, but if you send Zomjas on the other hand, so it does take these out, at least most of the time, it seems to. Yeah, so it can get them down to BFBs, but it can't really do much else, I find. So I'm not really going to use this too much still. It's nice to see a buff, but it will probably still need more of a buff to be really competitive for its price. The main one, however, which is good, the Unpopped Army, it now spawns 1 to 2 more balloons each time it summons. So it used to spawn randomly between 1 and 3 balloons every time it casts. Now it casts between 2 and 5 balloons every time it casts. So it's quite nice now. But mainly, the Prince of Darkness was buffed quite a lot. The zombie mobs and BFBs that this used to summon did 20 damage. But now, the mobs do 40 damage and the BFBs do 100 damage. So that is quite sizable. I love this tower, it's one of my favorites, so I'm just gonna quickly do that. I'll send some ceramics to get it spawning, and then we'll send some BFBs. Oh, this is way too much stuff. I shouldn't have done 20. But yeah, once it starts summoning these BFBs now, they kind of shred mobs pretty well. It's kind of awkward in its movement, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I placed in a terrible spot here as well. You kind of want to not do it in the middle of a bunch of intersections because you can't control how it moves. But yeah, it kind of just dealt with 10 BFBs mostly fine there. Didn't take out all the children. But you can, if you control it better, then you can probably do that a bit better. I'll just place it here. Boom, boom. Ceramics. Just get it spawning, and it's not spawning. Ah! I didn't place it close enough for some reason. Let's put it here. And give it some fire. Send a bunch of these dudes. Come on. Okay, there's my BFBs. Now I send some actual BFBs. And that's kind of an effective use of this tower. Got it all down to mobs. And I would probably have something behind here, obviously. This is not a tower you use on its own. But yeah, I mean, got all those BFBs down to regular ceramics. So hey, it does a lot more damage now. Should be interesting. Boom, boom, get rid of these. The banana farm was... So the top half of the banana farm was buffed. The plantation here, it was reduced from $3,400 to $3,400 cheaper. I believe this makes it quite competitive. The bank was increased by $100. With these two changes, I mean, the bank is going to be more efficient in the long run if you're just comparing one bank to one plantation. But overall, comparing the ability of like this path having to save up and then get your cash all at once compared to this path being able to immediately spend all of its earnings like during the round to buy more farms, I think that they're somewhat competitive here. We'll see, but yeah, it's nice to see them slowly drift closer together. Now, this is one of my favorite changes. The Carpenter Spikes here, boom, as you can see, that activated a Carpenter Spikes. So this used to activate the spikes for free without you tapping the ability at the start of each round. Now it will just periodically do that every 20 seconds. So yeah, this makes this is a very big buff for free play because the rounds just get longer and longer. It's massive buff there. It's going to be a great tower in free play in my opinion. And even before free play, when you start getting into those later rounds, especially if you have like stalling towers to slow blimps, this is going to be pretty good. I am hoping to see some more action. Final change here, Striker Jones. This one. The base Pierce was increased from 6 to 10, even though he was already the best hero. This is almost double, and it's noticeable. I don't think I will use him over Gwendolyn still, but he's a lot more viable for interesting challenges and just general play. Gwendolyn is just overpowered, honestly. Gwendolyn probably needs a nerf, but let's hope that doesn't happen for a long time. So anyway, that is this 4.0 update. All the changes. There's a lot of interesting topics here. Yeah, I probably went on for far too long about this, but anyway, I will link the patch notes in the description, so if you want to read over them yourself, then you can just check there. Also worth noting, there's a bit of an issue where, a lot of people know, every time there's an update, some people say, hey, why can't I get the update? I can't see it in my store, even though there's patch notes and stuff. It is live, the update's available, it's just the stores sometimes take a while to roll it out to different regions. From what I understand, I could be totally wrong here, but I hear that apparently, depending on the region, they reach a certain time, and that's when they push it live or something. But that's nothing to do with the game. The game is out there. You just kind of have to wait for it to hit your region. By the time I'm putting this video up, it's probably out in most regions fine. But if you don't have the update available, just sit tight. Sorry, not much you can do there. You just have to wait. And hopefully within 24 hours, the entire world should have access, if all goes well. You shouldn't be waiting much longer than one day. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you around.